you can study it more. But there's a definite link, an inviolable link between the causal body and the subtle body. And if you want the nuances of this knowledge, it's beautiful, really. I mean, when you see how absolutely intelligent and delicate this machine that Ishwar, it's like the wing of a butterfly or a beautiful flower. I mean, can you understand this? You can just appreciate the knowledge and intelligence behind it, but it's so beautiful what this knowledge can manifest. Then you can read that or study up on that. So right now we're going to continue to talk about what the Gunas do to us psychologically and personally. What do they do? In other words, we're on now number 5. What do the Gunas do? Point, I think it's on your, let me see if it's, yeah, I think it's on your sheet. I've got a slightly different sheet from you. Yeah, here they are. It's point number 5 on your sheet. It's the second page, called the microcosm. And so the first topic, A, is ahamkara has 3 qualities. Ahamkara is is the person that you think you are. It's an interesting word, ahamkara. Ahamkara means the I notion. You see it here, the I sense. You probably read this in the spiritual literature about the I sense. Ramana Maharshi says, meditate on the I sense. Nisargadatta talks about the I sense, the I concept. That's a technical term from Vedanta, and the technical word is ahamkara. Ahamkara means, aham means I. So this is the I. If you want to know, if you want to recognize the self, the self, you can recognize it every day, every minute of the day. How do you recognize it? When you say or think the word I. There's only one I, and whenever you say or think I, that I actually refers to you, limitless awareness. You are limitless consciousness existence. All the time, every minute, whether you know it or not. And if you want to recognize it, just recognize it as the word I. When you say I, and I say I, and he says I, and she says I, that I is always only the same I. It's only one I. It's called consciousness. That's aham. Now, when Maya is operating, when ignorance comes, Maya throws that veil and produces ignorance, then the I becomes an I sense, a kara, a notion. Kara means a notion or an idea of I. And that's the person, that's a reflected I. Like the moon, it reflects original consciousness. This I, this subtle body or this mind, reflects awareness, and you get an idea of yourself. It's called the I sense or the ego. The ego means, that's what the ego is. And the ego, what does it say here about the ego? It says, the ego, the ahamkara, has 3 qualities. And we talked about those 3 qualities, sattva, rajas, and tamas. So that's the first point about this ego, this person that you think you are. It has 3 qualities. And what do these gunas, these qualities, do? First, on the macrocosmic level, they structure society. You know, everybody's all worried about, you know, around the world they say, oh, the British, they got a caste system. They're so arrogant, they're so superior. They've got, you know, the great and the good. Don't you guys have a great and a good? That means the rulers, the better, are betters. We're just, you know, we're just normal people, but then we, you know. And supposedly those great and good people are all well, we don't know. Maybe they're great, maybe they're good. I sense that when you say that, there's a definite sense of irony there. Meaning what? They're not so great and they're not so good. No, every society has a great and a good. And every society has your rapacious, greedy businessmen like Donald Trump. And every society has a military and political class and the warrior class, right? Those people are all, And every society has working class people, dull people, not thinking people, hard-working people, not bad people, but people that, you know, not the sharpest knife in the drawer, as you say. The strata in society, and it's everywhere throughout the world, and it's been ever since time began, is controlled completely by the Gunas. Any attempt to like change the structure of society is useless. It will never happen. It's a fantasy that the people on the bottom have. You know, they want to pull the people that they imagine on the top down, but they can't do it. Because what? The Gunas, the macrocosmic Gunas, are structuring society. The thinking class, the creative class, and the spiritual class are what? People whose predominant guna is sattva. That's, it has nothing to do with your birth. It has to, people rise to the top because of their sattva. Sattva gives them more intelligence and more creativity and more knowledge than other people. So they're the creative motor behind the society. In India, it used to be the Brahmin class, because they're the ones who had the knowledge. And India was particularly into knowledge. India has always been a leader in knowledge. Because what, in those days, they had tremendously sattvic people, owing to the nature of their society. Even the pre-agrarian age, the rishis were all sattvic people. And they didn't have all these problems that we have today, so the society produced a lot of really sattvic people. And that's why you have the Vedas coming from India. But even like, say, in America, and here are the people controlling the financial universe. London's a big financial center. The brains there are sattvic, people who are predominantly sattvic. But because they're in what? In a rajasic environment, they have a lot of rajas too. So now, the next class is what? These are they're the military and the leaders, the politicians and the police and these people. Those are people who understand the value of Dharma. It's the knowledge of Dharma that, Dharma means the rules, the knowledge of the rules. And they understand the value of values. In other words, the value to a society of following the rules. Because the Dharma is built into the Dharma field. We said it's the Dharma field. There are universal values operating here as well as universal psychological traits and universal or impersonal physical laws. So this class of people understand the value of what universal values, and they have enough rajas to enforce and protect those values. So ideally the political class, the military class, and the police, these are the people who take care of the values because they have enough rajas to enforce them. They have enough power to enforce those values. The values in a society are only as good as the people who enforce the values. You can talk values all day long, but unless you enforce those values will not stay enshrined in the society. The commercial class are people who what? Are meant to produce wealth for the society. Now they have what? A predominance of rajas and tamas. The tamas inclines them toward materialism, but the rajas inclines them to manipulate matter because they have enough energy to control matter, and they have a little bit of sattva, so they can, those are your entrepreneurial class, the people who generate the wealth. They're at the third level of society. And then finally, when in those people in whom tamas predominates, and rajas is secondary, those are people that are in the service industries and the working class. They're not thinking people, they're not entrepreneurial people, they're not clever people, but they're hardworking people, and they provide what? The goods and services for the society. And you got that is what? Every society is exactly the same. They're all organized on a guna basis. Well, you need to understand this when you're operating here. And all these modern notions of democracy and all that, they're all built upon the idea that the self should be what? Manifest here, but what? It's going to be, hell's going to freeze over before what? This society becomes what? The societies become, you know, what are the millennial societies? So everything is angels and roses, and everybody's happy and hugging each other, and we're all equal and brothers and sisters, and you know, the whole fantasy you find in the spiritual world, particularly, oh, you know, the gurus exploit this right and left. We're going to save the world. No, you're not going to save the world. Believe me. Democracy is a nice idea. It's an attempt to correct some of the apparently egregious imbalances in the system. And I say apparently, but in fact, it's always been that way and it will always be that way because it's controlled by the Gunas. And the Gunas are eternal. So, now why do we tell you this? To get away from the idea that you're going to fix the world or change the world. A lot of people in the spiritual world, what? Are secretly hoping that there's going, and they always ask me, God, this Vedanta is the greatest thing. It's transformed my life. Why doesn't it become a mass phenomenon? Why don't, you know, so forth and so on. Why aren't you on national TV and millions of people are getting into this? And so, not going to happen. Because Vedanta is only for what? For the thinking class, for the sattvic class. These are people who have evolved that sattva guna to a point where they appreciate the value of knowledge and they appreciate the value of freedom and what they're willing to put their energy behind this quest for freedom.